The Capital Confidential podcast is brought to you by the Times-Union, the leading newspaper in New York's capital region. Subscribe today or visit online at timesunion.com.
Have you watched a lot of debates? We're just going to have little chatter as I test our audio. So.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of debates.
Any that really stick out in your mind?
No.
You want to deport an undocumented person? Start with me, because I'm an undocumented person.
How do we beat him in an election? We will. I'm going to run against him. I wish you would. I wish you would, Dad. I would.
There are things in here that are unobjectionable because they're not that effective. So yeah, sure, I'll vote for a distinctive license plate. Sure, why not?
Jim, you had your press conference at 4 o'clock.
You're having a press conference now?
That's
You're
right.
talking?
I'm having a press conference.
Well, is
now.
this your space here or is it public?
No, it's my space.
Oh, this is your
Don't
space.
interrupt.
Okay.
This is David Lombardo of the Times-Union here with Chris Churchill, also of Times-Union fame, doing a emergency Capital Confidential podcast in the wake of the Democratic primary debate, the lone primary debate, 2 weeks before the election, when Democratic voters will go to the polls and decide whether they're going for Cynthia Nixon or incumbent Andrew Cuomo as their choice. We just finished watching the debate and writing about it, Chris. So I guess the first question would be, moving into the debate, what were each of the candidates trying to do? What was a win for Nixon? What was a win for Cuomo?
Well, I think, first of all, we should probably say that we are not on Long Island right now. We are in the Times-Union newsroom.
Yes, the command center.
Yeah. We watched it on TV like all the other riffraff.
We did enjoy a bootlegged copy. We won't say who gave it to us, but we were enjoying a stolen copy prior to the televised 7 p.m. debate.
Is someone going to go to jail for that now that you said it out loud?
Well, there'll be inquiries, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. So what were each people trying to do to win?
If you believe the polls, which say that Nixon is way, way, way behind, I guess she was probably looking for some sort of moment that would change the trajectory of the race, right? And
for the governor?
I think the governor was, well, you know what? I went into the debate thinking he's just going to play it safe. He's going to be, sleepwalking, essentially. It's going to seem as though he's been sedated because he's going to be so afraid to make a mistake.
Don't want to create an opening for her
right.
to make up those 30 points.
Didn't want to mansplain, didn't want to offend, women. He didn't, he thought he would just play it safe, but he actually was pretty aggressive. I was surprised by how much he went after her.
So what's an example of that from the hour-long debate where you felt like he really took it to her?
Well, there was like this exchange over her tax returns, which, as far as I'm aware, hasn't really been an issue that anybody else has brought up.
Initially, she put out 1 year of taxes. In the last, week, she then released the previous 4 before that, the governor's campaign, as well as Hochul's campaign against Jumaane Williams, a New York City councilman. They've really been saying, got to release your tax returns. You're like Donald Trump if you're not putting out your tax returns. And then it was first, got to put out 5 years, then you got to do 10 years. Tonight, the governor said, you got to put out 20 years of taxes.
Yeah, right. And she said, how about 50?
Yeah.
She kept saying that he kept moving the goalposts,
exactly.
That whatever she did was not good enough.
And she brought up, though, during the debate, the fact that in 2010, when he was running for governor, he didn't put out his taxes until a few weeks after he won.
Right.
Which, he didn't really address during this debate.
Right. That's right. Yeah. And, he also, there was this weird exchange where he said that she was a corporation.
What's weird about that? She files taxes as a corporation.
Yeah, I know. But
she must be a corporation.
And he kept saying it again and again and again. And she eventually had to say, I'm a person.
Yes. She has dispelled all the rumors. She finally put that to bed. She is a person. It's not the Nixon bot 2020, I guess.
Right. And there was him accusing her of, calling in favors. This thing about the Shakespeare in the Park. She didn't want, was it airplanes or helicopters?
No helicopters over it.
Flying over it,
And apparently working with Sarah Jessica Parker, her Sex and the City co-star, regarding some tea house issue.
Yeah, which I think went over my head, probably went over a lot of people's head.
I can only imagine, but I'm sure Kim Cattrall knows what was going on with that one. Right from the get-go, Cynthia Nixon was sort of repeating a lot of the lines that she's been using throughout this campaign. The governor's an Albany insider. He hasn't accomplished anything. Do you think those attacks landed tonight? Do you think the governor was able to defend his record, able to promote enough accomplishments?
I think she held her own. I think she probably landed some blows. I think I think he did well, though, for the most part. I mean, he didn't seem to be evading things. He didn't seem to be, struggling to answer or anything like that,
And he made a point of saying, we've did the millionaire's tax, we've done paid family leave. Nixon is the one who brought up the minimum wage increase and said he kind of had to be dragged kicking and screaming on that.
Right.
Which is also another common refrain, how she'll say, you support liberal issues, but you're not the lead on them. You only do it because, the polls say to do it or because I'm promoting it.
Right. She keeps painting him essentially as like a dino, a Democrat in name only kind of thing, where she called him corporate. She called him...
No, you're corporate, he said, because you're a corporation.
Yeah, right.
I'm a human. I file as an individual.
Yeah, I as a columnist, I go into a debate like that worrying that it's going to be really boring, and it wasn't. I mean,
No.
they really did go after each other, and there was a lot of stepping over each other, and
yes,
he said to her at one point, stop interrupting me.
Well, will you stop lying? And then he said,
yeah.
You
said,
first.
Oh, yeah, you first, only when you do, or something like that. Yeah.
And we also learned that, and I don't know if this was news, it was news to me, that the governor experimented with marijuana while in college, as talking about recreational marijuana. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, don't forget the most important thing we learned. He's not going to run for president.
Yes, that is a good point. We buried the lead. If Cuomo wins, we'll have him for another 4 years, regardless.
Right, which may be either a promise or a threat, depending on your political point of view.
Yes,
right?
yeah, and I mean, he was very matter-of-fact about it, whereas also, though, in 2006, while running for Attorney General, he matter-of-factly said, no, I have no intentions of running for governor.
Right.
So I guess things change.
Right. I mean, candidates always say they're not running for president.
Right.
And then, like, the day after the election, they're going to Iowa for some strange reason.
Who wouldn't want to? I vacation there.
Des Moines.
Yes.
Des Moines in November is lovely.
If only. It's better in January, though, when they're all in their caucus rooms.
Yeah.
So we talked about, what they need to win. So I guess, did Nixon have a game changer? Did Cuomo maintain his lead?
Yeah, I don't think that this is going to... I mean, I hate to play the horse race, be the horse race guy, but
be the jockey.
Yeah, it's hard to see this changing if you believe the polls, which the Nixon people claim they don't.
I think they have to. They have to say they don't believe it.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to see that this. Like I said, she held her own. So I mean, if you were a Nixon voter, or if you liked her, but you're on the fence about whether or not she could, handle this kind of pressure, I think we learned that she could.
Yeah, I think it definitely was a reassuring moment for somebody who's on the fence. You see someone in Nixon in this debate who, if you are fine with her ideology, you saw someone who definitely looked gubernatorial.
Right.
It was someone who appeared ready for the moment. Polling suggests there's only about 10% of the primary electorate that are undecided, are up for grabs. Mm-hmm. That's not enough to swing the election if you believe the polls. But she definitely hit that gravitas test, I mean, from my eyes.
Yeah, I think so too. She didn't, there wasn't any gaffe or she didn't look like she didn't understand the issues.
Right.
With maybe one or two exceptions that I can't think of right now. But
yeah, I mean, she got some questions about like sports gambling, for example, in which she said, it needs to be studied, but if I'm put on the spot about it, no. I mean, I don't think she came into the debate expecting a sports gambling question, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
Right. The other thing they also agreed on was Mayor de Blasio. Neither of them wants or is like demanding his endorsement. I don't know if that's a surprise.
Yeah, he probably got his feelings hurt tonight.
Yeah. The power broker himself, New York City Mayor de Blasio, who is considered in some circles the sort of person who was pushing Nixon to get into this race.
Right.
They're allies. He's apparently polling favors for her at playhouses.
One thing, yeah, right. One thing I'll say is that, and this is no newsflash, but I mean, she is very, very liberal.
Yes.
Like it's. I don't think I've ever watched a debate where I've seen a candidate who's that liberal, who wasn't like a Green Party candidate or something like that. I mean, and a lot of people will love it, but it'll turn off a lot of people too.
Well, you mentioned that, and the immediate response from Mark Molinaro, the Republican gubernatorial nominee, was it seemed like the two candidates were running for mayor of New York City against Donald Trump.
Right.
I mean, and Donald Trump did come up repeatedly during this debate. I mean, in the governor's very first answer, he brought up that Trump is the biggest threat to New York, and that's, my job, number one, is defend it against Trump.
I know, and it's funny, he says he's not running for president, and then, like, he spent the next 2 minutes saying, essentially, someone has to fight him, someone has to take him down, or something along those lines. And
Yeah.
it's sort of like, hey, that sounds like a presidential candidate. But to go back to what Molinaro was saying, there was the other thing about the debate that was striking to me is that there was hardly any mention of upstate.
No, and speaking of another candidate there, Stephanie Miner, the independent gubernatorial candidate, former Syracuse mayor, put out a statement saying, I'm a little disturbed that there weren't any questions about upstate jobs.
I know. I mean, here it is. I said that in my column, too. I mean, here it is, the one debate. I mean, it'd be one thing if this was the New York City debate and then there was going to be a Utica debate, but this is the one debate. I mean,
The Utica debate, huh?
Yeah, or, or Syracuse, maybe.
The Rome debate.
Yeah, right.
The Mount Vernon debate. The Fort Drum debate.
But you'd think since upstate is, large swaths of it are kind of in a crisis, you would think they could have, overcome the New York City myopia for a few minutes to ask a question about.
I guess in defense of the moderators, I would say that where the primary electorate is going to come from largely is probably New York City. That's why we're getting questions about the MTA, questions about homelessness, which, homelessness is obviously an issue across the state, but it's centralized there. There's also a question about state troopers going down to New York City. Maybe my eyes glazed over a little bit during those points. I mean, it's not in my story. I don't know if is that in your column, the state troopers in New York City issue?
No, it's not. And neither was the subways.
Well,
neither was an extended thing on the Tappan Zee Bridge.
Yeah, I was going to say that we did the Mario Cuomo Tappan Zee Bridge question potential here, which the governor did not warm to. He was not at all happy with Marsha Kramer's compromise.
It's a new bridge with a new name, is what he said, essentially.
Yes, exactly. You can't have the same name.
But, I mean, the candidates could have pivoted, too, toward, to talk about upstate. I mean, you would think Cuomo would want to kind of highlight his upstate record, such that it is.
The only point during that where he kind of did that was with regards to the MTA. Before answering a question about the MTA and subways, he talked about the overall investment in infrastructure. We've got crumbling infrastructure, and I'm investing across the entire state. So that was my little. I felt included then. I felt like he was talking to me about the Northway or something.
I don't know. To me, it really struck me that upstate didn't come up a little bit more.
Okay, and the last thing would just be that I'm talking to people, and it's probably a safe assumption to assume that this is not going to be must-see TV. This has not been consumed by millions of New Yorkers, and so as a result, I think a lot of people are going to consume their debate. They're going to learn about the debate. They're going to dissect the debate from either reading my news piece, from seeing your column, from seeing stuff on Twitter, and little sound bites, little bits. Who wins in those little bits? If it gets packaged, if someone reads your story, are they going to think that, Nixon came across great, Cuomo came across great? How is this all going to be perceived?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. On social media, what people will see is probably the bickering, and probably neither one of them will come off well in that circumstance. I'll be interested to see how the newspapers
do you think
write
this is
about it. I mean, I don't know. To me, I always hate the whole winner and loser thing when it comes to debates, because it's not really about that. It's supposed to be a discussion of issues and everything, ideally. But I'll be interested to see, if people think that she made any progress.
How many days of stories do you think we'll get on this? Is this it? Is it one day and done?
Yeah. I mean, is
there a follow-up?
Big holiday weekend coming? I don't know.
You got big plans?
No.
No?
No, not really.
Just dissecting this debate probably, right?
Yeah, I'm going to watch it again and again and again, yeah.
Okay, well, you got 2 more weeks to do it because voters have to go to the polls by September 13th. Chris, I really appreciate you making your inaugural appearance on the Capital Confidential podcast. And, listeners can read your column in the paper tomorrow or go online and read it whenever and as many times as their heart's content. Thanks a lot, Chris.
Oh, sure. Thanks.
Just heard I tried to get you.
Ah! This day sucks!